Hi, I'm John and welcome to the Jigsaw Puzzler. Today's puzzle is a really splendid puzzle. 1,500 piece jigsaw puzzle. The image is of the interior of St. Peter's Basilica at the Vatican, particularly the dome and some of the architectural features around the dome. 1,500 pieces by Mindbogglers from Hinkler, and it is part of their very special Gold series. There are only, I think, about 6 puzzles in the Gold series altogether, and this is the one that I've seen the most copies of. I bought this one secondhand. I happen to have a second copy, also secondhand, and I've seen it elsewhere secondhand. I have not seen the other puzzles in the series available secondhand anywhere, although I have seen people post them on the internet to say that they have them and have completed them. I've seen posts on the internet about this puzzle, about how difficult it is, but I'd like to step us through this puzzle and show you that it is perhaps not as hard as you might imagine. It is an absolutely splendid puzzle, and the thing that makes the Gold series distinct from other jigsaw puzzle series, from other suppliers, is the distinct gold leaf detailing on the puzzle itself. So while we might complain about a puzzle being glossy and shiny, there's no escaping this one. It's a very shiny puzzle because it actually has details picked out in gold leaf on it. So it just radiates gold. So let's start out by looking at the quality of the puzzle. I'll take you then on a tour around the image, and then the strategies that I used to complete this puzzle. So, Mindbogglers puzzles, they are at the more affordable end of the puzzle spectrum. Some of the Mindbogglers puzzles are not very good quality, to be honest. The pieces fit together loosely, they're a little bit on the thin side, all part of a cost-cutting exercise or keeping costs low exercise. However, more recent ones are a lot more robust. This one, the puzzle pieces are just a very average thickness, not particularly thin, not particularly thick, and it holds together beautifully. I reckon for a 1,500 piece puzzle I could get that completely off the table and suspended in the air if I wanted to, without it coming apart. It holds together very nicely. As I was doing it, it seemed to be a bit of a loose fit, but as the pieces went together, it did start to grip quite well, and I could move small sections from place to place if I needed to. So the image, as I said, it's St. Peter's Basilica. It's a view looking up into the main dome designed by the architect Michelangelo. In fact, the Basilica, a lot of the Basilica architecture was designed by Michelangelo, but many other Renaissance sculptors and artists and architects worked on this building, so no one artist can really claim to have designed the building itself. Michelangelo was appointed when the previous architect was dismissed and took over an already existing works that were already underway. The dome is most dominantly his work, but many other features are his as well. Very famous building, and obviously with this absolutely spectacular interior. Very large dome, at the center of which is an image up inside the lantern in oculus. There's writing around the middle. There is a ring of gold stars on a very dark blue background. Coming down the dome, we have dark blue stripes with gold stars on them, interspersed with 1, 2, 3, 4 paintings in each of the divisions that the dome is broken up into. Then there's a balcony edge here. I don't think it's a real one. Then there is a series of windows around which there is an actual balcony. You used to be able to go up there. I've been up there and around that balcony to climb up inside the dome many years ago. I don't know if that is still open to tourists. There's a line of writing on mosaic tiles, gold mosaic tiles around the inside of the drum. Then as we come out, we have these two arched vaults going off to the side here. They are off the other sides as well, but you can't see them in the picture. But the two side ones, yes, and these spandrels that help the dome, the shape of the dome, come down onto the columns that support the weight of this enormous structure. On the spandrels, we have 4 coloured images depicting either biblical scenes or scenes of prophets. I think they might be the 4 evangelists actually. They appear to be writing, and so Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, and with some angels or little cherubs in between. Then in the corners we have the very tops of the great columns that hold this up, and part of the wall, but mostly the corner columns that are holding this thing up. In front of us here we have a structure called the baldacchino, and it is the canopy over the papal throne. There is an image of a dove in splendour, which is the Holy Spirit, above where the Pope would sit. Now you can't see the chair or anything below, only part of the way up of this structure, which sits directly over the tomb of St. Peter in the vaulting underneath the building. We've got these great corbelled ceilings here with octagonal, rectangular and square cutouts in them. They allowed the building to, the arches to form, but to help reduce the weight of the masonry so that the whole thing didn't collapse. But consequently, and being a Renaissance building, it is completely filled with details. Little elements that hold out balconies that are all intricately carved. The text and the mosaics, the paintings, the scroll work, the gold work, and the gold that's on the jigsaw puzzle is kind of indicative of the gold that's on the building. It really is utterly magnificent. Alright, so this is a 1500 piece puzzle. Half would get 50% larger than what I would normally do and would normally present on this channel. But I thought I'd go for a challenge and do a slightly larger one. It's been a while since I've done that. Knowing that, I knew that I needed to sort my pieces more thoroughly when I tipped them out into the sorting trays. For a 1000 piece puzzle I used 2 trays. For this one I used 2 trays and the bottom of the box to tip all the pieces into so that I could do a full flip. While I was doing a full flip, I pulled out all of the edge pieces and lined them up, as is my usual custom, down the side here, the edges and the corners. And of course, being a bigger puzzle, it came out a bit further onto the puzzle board, and I ended up having to shuffle some of them sideways as the puzzle developed. I pulled out several sections of this simultaneously. Firstly, I pulled out the middle with the stars and this painting, plus the 4 paintings and triangular sort of spandrels with the cherubs on them, all in one pile. Anything that was coloured. They are the coloured sections, not the brownish sections, but the multicoloured sections, and I put all of them in one pile. I picked out the windows, this great crescent of windows here. Fairly easy to identify those in the box, so I pulled those out. The corners here with the stonework, the pillars, they are quite identifiable, so I made a huge pile of stonework pieces. I pulled out the baldacchino, which is quite distinct from the rest of it, despite it being so super fancy and decorated. It is actually distinct, just easier to find than amongst all of those pieces because it's black. The dominant colour here, colours are gold and black, and there's not black anywhere else on it. There are dark browns and things in the corners and shadows, but this is black. And then there's that great image of the dove of the Holy Spirit with the sun ray bursts coming out of it. And I knew that was part of the baldacchino, so I put that all together there. So I had that, I had the coloured pieces, I had the stonework, I had the windows, and the other thing that's distinctive about this are these bands of writing in Latin inscription. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, varying sizes. This one is smaller and finer, these ones are quite big, and so I pulled all the writing out, and the gold mosaic that had any fragment of writing on it. The other thing that I pulled out, and this was a much smaller pile, but the other thing I pulled out were these triple striped lines here. Now, this is important for putting this puzzle together, these kinds of lines, because we might look at an image like this and think, where can I start? What can I do? Beyond the coloured bits, which are relatively straightforward, after that we get into a lot of brown and gold and not much else. So these lines become really important for putting the puzzle together. So in my sorting, I had a lot of different piles, which meant that my sorting trays did not have huge numbers of puzzle pieces in them. It had these side bits, the inside of the dome, some of the corner bits, and just some of the other bits that I wasn't quite sure where they went, sort of more obscure pieces. But that's okay, and I had all of those in the sorting trays, and I left the sorting trays to one side. I surprised myself with this puzzle by not actually referring to the box a huge amount. Now I did, and you'll see in the time lapse if you watch it, that I do look at the image on the box lid to see orientations of things and where pieces might go, but I don't have that fixed in my hand. I actually have that to one side, sometimes not even on the table at all, where I can just piece the bits together just from what I have. So beyond the sorting, how then did I attack this puzzle? I did not do the edge first. I could, there'd be nothing wrong with doing that, and it would work itself out, but I did not do the edge first. I opted for a quick win, and that was to do these 4 circular images first, and then the little triangles that go with them, and put those in place. The next thing that I did was also this central circle here with the image and the gold stars on the blue background, and was able to start piecing these closer together. Then I did the writing, all of these sections here which have writing on them, and these 2 here. This is really important because the writing is, you read writing upright in a certain direction, and you can see that it reads around this way, and the letters are vertical, even though they're off at an angle looking up into the drum of the dome. But getting that line of writing there meant that these 2 sections could be joined together in the middle, so I knew how they connected, and they got just far enough to connect to the triangular cherubs next to these ones. So I was able to actually form essentially like a square around that central dome with this bit in the middle. So then these triple lined sections here at the ends of the arches become really important. Following lines defines sections within the puzzle. This puzzle has a number of really strong lines that help us to break it down into smaller bits. This line of writing here and these 2 here section off the stonework from the rest of it. This here allows us to join these together. If we look at this one here, there is this distinct fine line that goes all the way around, well, almost all the way around the circle of the dome. And you can follow it as a fairly distinctive pattern on its own. So you can actually create the circle of the dome fairly readily with the writing. The other lines are these triple ones here, and they section off these 2 vaulted wings to the side of the dome. And then these lines of writing and gold up here are quite distinct. There's a short line of here along the edge, very easy to put together. And there is another short triple piece here, obscured a bit by the baldacchino, which is finer and a different shade of white, if you can believe it, than the ones on the sides. Then I put the windows together. This beautiful crescent of windows. The colouring there is unique to that section of the puzzle. Obviously, you've got the window shapes, and given the angle of looking up into that dome, you can tell by the angle that the window is on the piece. Sometimes you might think, oh, it's this side, but it's that side. So there's a little bit of fiddling around, but you can tell, is this window in front of me or to the side? And sometimes I did find that I had to swap a piece from this side to that side to make it fit properly. But those angles really do help to position those in the right spot. Then I thought I'd work on these rays, these like sun rays, if you like, of the spines that come down the dome. I sorted all of those pieces out. It did take a while to get that together, but if you look closely, they are all straight lines, well, curved because of the curve of the dome, but they start from narrow in the middle to wide at the edges, and they all do. So I knew if I had a narrow piece, it was going to be close to the middle. I knew if I had a wide piece, it was going to be around the edge. The other thing that's really useful here is that there are a ring of circular or oval shaped elliptical paintings in the centre halfway down the dome. So I went through and collected all, I think there's 16 of them. Yes, all 16 of those, and pieced together as many as I could, and then tried to position those in place in order to help start to connect all of that together. Once I did that, the rest of it started to come into place. Pretty straightforward. This edge here, this balcony edge above the windows, very distinct pattern that's on no other part of the puzzle. So that wasn't too hard to find. So this is actually a series of concentric rings almost from the middle to there, to there, to there, that you're just finding circles and then the starburst rays that come out of it. So that's how I attacked that. The stonework was easy, absolutely dead set easy. There are two different shades of colour. There's this sort of warmer brown colour on the sides here where the lighting is often obviously different from the greyer looking stone towards the centre. The angles of these lines on the columns are different, so you can easily see which side the piece belongs to and then easily put those together. There are two small arches here with some gold on them too, some little bit indistinct artworks up there. That kind of fills in that section there, and then there's these great Corinthian capitals all across the top here. The other thing there is there's 1, 2 striped sections here, which are complemented by 1, 2 darker striped sections up there. They're kind of pajama striped pieces, and so pulling those out and putting that in joined all of that together. I then tackled the baldacchino. This is tricky. It's a bit indistinct as to what's going on and where the pieces go, but I obviously did the brown section with the Holy Spirit dove on it first because it's quite distinct, and that's the rays of light, really easy to find those. Then there's a grey set of banners with what look like bees on them, a couple with bees, which I think was a papal coat of arms at some point. There's some more down the bottom here, but purely in black. And then the rest of it, there's a little bit of trial and error with some of the pieces where they go because it's very, very intricate, but there aren't too many pieces involved in that. The top here, the section at the top of it, all this elaborate sculpture on the top of it, is quite hard to see on the picture because it's totally laden with gold and black. But again, not a large part of the puzzle, so not terribly difficult to do a bit of trial and error with that. So as I was moving towards the conclusion of the puzzle, I had most of this done. There were a few holes in it, and I had all of it done up to here. This was completely done first. Then these dark corners, I did the dark corners after that because there are not too many pieces that fit there. There are these gold crenellated lines here. Very easy to find those. There aren't too many of them. And you know, they either go on one side or the other, and they are mirror image of each other, so you can tell whether it's a slope down on this side or a slope down on this side to put those in place. Very, very easy to do that. And then moved along to forming this line at the side here, which is a little harder to find, only about 8 or 10 pieces in total, but then had the corners done and pretty much had it all done except the 2 barrel vaults. Now, this is the second time that I've done this puzzle. The first time I did it with my puzzle partner and we worked on it together. We did enjoy it, but we knew and we found, and I've seen on comments, on people's Facebook comments about this puzzle, that the 2 barrel vaults are the hardest section of the entire puzzle. And I'd have to say I would agree with them, or I used to agree with them. This time around, I actually found them easier than the last time doing them. Oh, we fiddled around so many times, this way, that way, upside down. I know that they're curved, I know you get different angles, but it just does your head in about how to put that thing together. But I noticed something about those 2 barrel vaults which I had not noticed before, and it was really key to me being able to put these sections together a lot easier than it had before. Firstly, there are 4 lights which are switched on. They're easy to find. No problems putting those together and putting them roughly in the right spot. Okay, so they're the easy bit. Then you get these other sections, these corbelled and carved insets into the ceiling, some of which are square and some of which are hexagonal. So I spent half a minute thinking, well, how many hexagons am I looking for? And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on each side. 8 hexagonal sections, and I already had 1 of each, which was the lit up section. So 7, I was looking for 7 hexagons and 4 squares on each side. 1 of which was already lit up, so only 3 squares that had a big carving in the middle of them. There are small ones, but 3 squares with carvings in them, 7 hexagons with carvings in the middle of them. Then the moment came, and I realised, let's take the squares, for example. 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. 1 was already in place because it was lit up. The lights were on. So there's 3 left. There are 2 squares out of the 3 that have gold leaf central motif, and 1 that does not. And on this side, the same, 2 with gold centres, 1 without. So when I found the squares, I knew that I could separate them into, does it have a gold centre or does it not? So I did that. The same with the hexagons. We've got 7 hexagons to look for. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, and that was an edge piece. So 1, 2, 3 of them have gold centres, and 1, 2, 3 of them do not. Same on this side. 1, 2, 3 have gold centres, and 1, 2, 3 do not. That helped me to separate them into distinct piles and to piece the gold-centred ones together and the plain-centred ones together. Then I also noticed that some of them have, of the ones that did not have a gold centre, one of them has a gold hexagon around the central part, but not the other 2. So I could find that one. I could find that one the same way. So looking for the variations, the subtle differences between each of these sections of the ceiling made that going together so much easier. I ended up putting that together much quicker than I had previously. Then there are 3 rectangles on each side between these big motifs. There are 3 narrow rectangles, 2 horizontally and 2 so 4 of them horizontally and 2 of them vertically, that have gold squiggly motif in them. Only 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then all the rest of them are plain. So I went and looked for the 6. and I could put all of those together. And it just started coming together. There's a section of the ceiling right here where the colours are quite different. They're much paler, much whiter, much more beige. So I could put the corner of this whole thing together really quickly. And then after that, it was just a matter of filling in the gaps. I didn't have that many pieces left. I did a quick piece sort into the various shapes and just filled in the blanks. You'll see me on the time lapse holding the box, turning the shapes around to face the direction of the space that I was looking for, and some of them went in very, very rapidly indeed. And then I got it done. The edge came together as I did various sections, but I did spend some time popping most of the edge together at one point, mostly that I could see that I had things kind of in the right proportions, and there weren't just whole parts of it that were too far out or too close together. So there was one edge piece over here somewhere that I did not find until right near the end. I honestly thought that I'd lost one, and I knew this puzzle was complete when I packed it up, or when I did it last time. So I was getting a little bit agitated that I had lost a piece, but no, I hadn't. But I found it within the last 50 to 100 pieces, which I think is astonishing that I could just not see it in the sorting trays. I liked this puzzle. I loved it. I liked it the first time, but I really enjoyed it the second time because I had already done it once and knew what the challenges were, and found myself seeing new things this time, which allowed me to do it quicker and just have a smoother ride with putting it together. I like this puzzle. I'm not going to get rid of this, but I do have a second one that I might sell off or give away at some point. Thoroughly enjoy it. So if you can get hold of Mindbogglers St. Peter's Basilica, 1500 piece, then I sincerely hope other people enjoy it as well. So we're going to have the time lapse now, and so if you'd like to click like and subscribe and share the channel with your social media world, that would be great. So thank you for watching, and let's have the time lapse.